Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be going through our Extreme Rules 2017 predictions and finally addressing the ... dive debate. I didn't get to talk about it as much as I wanted to when it happened a few weeks ago, so we thought we'd address that now. If you want to go to those discussions right away, please go into the video description below and click the timestamps to be taken straight there. Or stay here right now, where I've got a bit of show and tell.
Well, I mean, I know most of the show and tell anyway,
Yes.
because I was there when you got it.
Well, we both went to MCM Comic Con last Saturday, which will be a week
London.
now. And we bumped into quite a few people who said hi.
We did, yeah, so hello to all those people that
thank
stopped
you
you.
very much.
Including the guy that thought you were from what culture?
Yes, that was fun. So somebody came up to me and went, "You're from what culture?" And I was like, "Oh no, no, I'm not from what culture." And he said, "No, you're from what? I've seen you do videos on what culture." And I went, "I'm not from what culture? I do wrestling stuff on YouTube." And he was just like, his friends laughing next to him. I'm just like, "WrestleTalk, Ollie Davis from WrestleTalk," and he went, "You sure?" Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
You saw the penny drop and was like, yeah, no, that's where I know you're from, yeah.
So that was
Nice guy.
nice. I unfortunately, I jokingly said in response, "Oh, it's okay, you only got us confused with our biggest competitors," as a joke, but I was quite tired and grumpy by that point. It came across quite nasty.
Quite late in the day, and you were overtired.
I was.
You were ready to go home.
This is the first thing we got, because there's a lot of retro video game stuff, because that's what nerds like these days.
In this one here in particular.
Hey, look at this. This was £10 which probably works out as, I don't know, $16.
Yep. It's actually, do you know what? There's probably a bargain for a boxed N64 game, especially No Mercy.
It's pretty
the greatest wrestling game ever made.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a hard on for WrestleMania
2000.
2000. Yes.
I think No Mercy is a much better game, but that's just me personally. So
a great grapple system from what I remember. Look at that. That takes me back.
So good.
That's an unboxing.
Oh, also,
I just did the first unboxing video I've ever done.
Also, I'm very much looking forward to when we plug that into the 64 out back, because one of my favourite things about finding old copies of No Mercy is finding everyone's creator wrestler data.
Oh, that's a good. I forgot they saved to the cartridge.
They saved to the cartridge, and there's also like with No Mercy, you had the ability to alter people's actual wrestlers' attires as well. So there are a lot of people who did some edits on people like that. So I'm looking forward to going through and just enjoying
because we do have an N64 in the studio.
It'd also be nice to break up the Mario Kart 64 marathons with some No Mercy instead.
Or GoldenEye, because there's only so many chop runs that you can do, isn't there?
Also, I hate GoldenEye.
That's the first one. This is kind of a joke thing.
You say it's a joke thing.
I don't know how well it's going to show up, because it is a mirror.
This is something that you just desperately wanted to buy once you saw it. Because
I don't know if that's showing up, but this is a John Cena, because I think the light might reflect, probably revealing the back of the studio as well. This is a John Cena wall mirror. What? It was £5.
It's got a big picture of John Cena. It says hustle, loyalty, respect.
So this is the bit that you would look into, and John Cena is over your head.
Yep.
Like you're entering the ring, and that's your name bar graphic. The guy, when I saw it,
this is hilarious.
When I saw it on a stall, I was just like, "Oh my god, that's incredible!" You know, I've never seen this piece of merchandise before. It's typical merchandise gone crazy. And the guy who was running the stall went, "Yeah, it's right bargain as well, £5. You won't get better than that. It's a good product. Like he was at a Swanley Market stall. And I said, no, I don't think it's amazing. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen.
It was ghastly.
And he went, "Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't be seen dead with that. It's total trash. Good bargain, though." I went, "It is. I'm coming back for this once I've queued up for an hour to get money."
We weren't queued up for an hour.
It was long.
We were queued up for about half an hour.
So I went home the next day for my mother's birthday. And my mum, as every time I go back, she said, "We've got some stuff of yours upstairs that we didn't want to throw away. Do you want to look through it?" I was like, "Yes, I do." WrestleMania,
look at
the history
this.
of WrestleMania.
Oh, the official Insider's Guide. Look at Taker there. That's proper Ministry of Darkness Taker.
McMahon
Oh, that's the Regime era Stephanie.
Yeah, so this is the history of every WrestleMania up until the year 2000.
Oh,
I got this to catch up because this is what
Oh,
happened.
can I have a look?
Yeah, of course
while you were talking, while you're rambling.
That's before for internet.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I would use this for my reference book.
Oh,
remember the
this
days
is
when
great.
everything you knew about WWE history was filtered through the lens of WWE's own published history books? It's like North Korea.
This is great. Fun fact for you, I believe, because this is what I'm currently looking at the moment, is WrestleMania 15. Yeah, it would have been 15 because it was 1999. And that was main evented by The Rock and Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which number, sorry?
15, because WrestleMania 2000 was 16. And it was just called WrestleMania 2000.
Okay.
I believe that was the way it runs.
You're right, because I always get it mixed up. I always think WrestleMania 20 happened in the year 2000. But you're right, it's not that, yeah.
And so it was Rock and Austin, but the whole storyline leading up to that was always about Mankind, because you used to have Mankind and The Rock at Royal Rumble, and then you had their halftime heat match and the empty arena match and things like that. And the story goes that the main event was going to be Rock, Mankind, and Stone Cold for the WWF Championship, because the Mankind was just in a match with the Big Show, where the winner got the right to be the ref in the main event, and I think Big Show won, but then got arrested, and I think Vince McMahon was then the referee because Mankind was too injured to do it.
Right.
If memory serves, I haven't watched it in years. My memory's a bit hazy of it. But the scuttlebutt is that the person who shot down the triple threat idea was none other than Shawn Michaels, who argued that the WrestleMania main event should always be a one-on-one match.
Wow.
Which is weird then, because the next year after that was the Four Corners, with McMahon in every corner, and the next time they did a triple threat for the WWE Championship in the main event involved Shawn Michaels.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's weird because I didn't know Shawn Michaels had that much power in that time of the company.
He had still had all the power in the world.
I mean, I know he came back for the first episode of SmackDown, but
he was like
largely
he was still like commissioner,
right.
And especially like even in 2000s there was talk of him bringing him back for a commissioner type role.
Do you want to see my last bit of show?
I
and
do
tell?
want to see your last bit of show and tell.
So hopefully the glare again doesn't reflect off it too much, so I'll kind of move it around. But this is a signed photo of AJ Styles from his TNA days. Look how grumpy he looks.
That's because he was in his heel mode when he was with Ric Flair.
Yeah, he's dressed as part of, was it Fortune?
Fortune, yeah.
The faction.
Man, so that's like 2010 era AJ.
I could probably get up.
What's happened here?
Oh, I think that's just some sticky tape that happens when you leave precious items at home.
Ah, yeah. Well, that's very nice. I very much enjoyed your show and tell.
So, Extreme Rules predictions. I've got everything down here. Let's start off with the match that probably will be announced either after we've finished recording this, but before we posted it to make us look like lemons, or in the pre-show or actual show itself. That is Goldust versus R-Truth.
I'm going Goldie.
You're going Goldie?
Yeah.
It's tough to tell. Like, is he on his way out? I mean, they're both in their 40s. Is Dustin Reynolds 50?
Yeah, it must be nearing it now, yeah.
I think R-Truth... I would like to say I think R-Truth's got more money in him, because when he's serious, he's good. And he can, he's a very engaging wrestler. Like you said when we saw him live, he knows how to work a crowd.
Yeah. Especially, he's great pre-show fodder.
Yeah. Now, do I be tactical and say Goldust as well, too? Because I don't want to lose on this match. Might not even happen. I'm going to say R-Truth, just to stick with my
I'm going Goldie.
Integrity. Right. The other pre-show contender, Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox.
Alicia Fox.
In a mixed-gender tag. Extreme. Who are you going for here?
I'm going for the good guys. I'm going for Rich Swann and Sasha Banks, and they do a big old dance at the end of it. Even though they did win, Rich Swann won against Noam Dar, I just think that there is more mileage to be got out of Sasha Banks than Alicia Fox being a heel. She doesn't really need a win here, unless they're looking to extend this feud out, which... Why would you? I mean, bear in mind this is all spawned off a botch, so this shouldn't really be going much further than it is currently. So I'm going for the good guys here, and a big old dance celebration to follow.
I am also going to go for the good guys because I have heard Emma is coming back in mid-June, so really? I think Sasha might go into Yeah, her injury isn't as bad as...
No, it wasn't as bad.
She hasn't had to undergo surgery.
Excellent news.
So I think she'll enter a feud with Sasha. I think that'd be very good. I really like Emma.
I hope that they bring Emma back in a better way than they did this time.
Yes. Well, she was barely back. She was back like 3 weeks before she
No, I know,
got
but remember,
again.
they just randomly put her in a match.
Yeah. The Cruiserweight Championship submission match, sticking with the Cruiserweights, Neville versus Austin Aries.
Right.
This is the final of the 3 fights they've had so far, and Neville has won both. So...
Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. I've been thinking about this one a lot.
Have you?
Because
been keeping you up at night?
Well, I mean, I only watched Raw yesterday, so it's been keeping
Oh,
me...
okay, so it's since Raw, okay.
Since Raw. So I've been thinking about this a lot. And I've always gone Austin Aries on every... of the 3 matches, or the 2 matches at previous, I've said Austin Aries at WrestleMania, and I saw Austin Aries at whatever the pay-per-view was after that.
Probably Backlash.
Yeah, I think it was Backlash, Breaking Ground or something like that.
Breaking Ground. That's the
NXT show. And so
they come up with some guff names.
Yeah. So I'd look like a complete doofus if I picked Austin Aries for a third time, being like, well, he's got to win, and then. But I feel like I should pick Austin Aries because surely now is the time. I can't. If you beat him 3 times in a row, yeah, that's it. He's done, and he can't ever recover from that. But he won on Raw.
Yes.
And he tapped out Neville there. And that's usually your sign that says Neville's going over on Sunday. So I'm torn here because I feel like I'm going to look like a right lemon if I say Austin Aries in both the matches that he lost and then say Neville in the match when Austin Aries wins. I'll look like a complete spanner. And... my reputation on this channel for predictions is bad enough as it is without
Not
this.
too bad. It's your fantasy warfare.
Fantasy warfares, yeah. But that's because your audience is bigger than mine.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with.
Neville.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I wrote that down wrong. I'm going with double A.
You're going with
I
A
think
double.
the way to get out of you can't have him lose anymore. I mean, hopefully they're smart enough to see that. I think Vince likes Austin Aries because I think Vince likes Austin Aries' humour. Eating the banana, the way Austin Aries was put on commentary for the Cruiserweight matches while he was out injured, I think he's one of Vince's guys. You know, I can understand this guy.
Yeah.
He eats a banana, it makes me laugh.
Okay, do you know what I'm going with? I'm going to go with A double as well, due to interference from TJP.
Ooh,
and I think that
nice.
TJ is going to... he's not turning babyface. He's turning heel on Neville, being like, you're never giving me these opportunities. So I've already made a deal with Austin Aries that he's going to give me the first title shots after he wins.
I was going to bring up Jack Gallagher and TJP because they have been both prominently featured in this feud. But I also think that's filler.
Yes,
I don't think there's any method behind it.
No, I don't think so either. Well, I think there is something with the TJP thing, so... I'm going to look a right div if I keep going Austin Aries. But yeah, I think he has to win. He has to win this match. He has to win.
I get your reasoning. The next up match is for the Raw Tag Team Championships, the Hardy Boys versus Cesaro and Sheamus in a steel cage match. The Hardy Boys have won every match they've had, singles and tag, since coming back at WrestleMania.
And they will continue their winning ways because I'm going with the Hardys with this one. It's too early for the Hardys to be dropping the belts, so I'm going with the Hardy Boys here.
I haven't thought about this one, actually. I mean, the obvious spot is a swanton bomb off the top of the cage onto someone.
I hope it's not the leg drop, because remember when he did that last time and it's just like the sorest thing in the world? Doing a leg drop off the top rope, don't ever do that. That's not a good move to do. No,
I don't like it when Fandango does it.
No, he does it safe now because he lies backwards as he does it. It's a flat back bump then, because when you do it, when you sit straight down, your ass comes through your head. It's horrible.
Hulk Hogan's hips are shot, and he just did it from standing. This is tough. This is tough.
I think if you go Sheamus and Cesaro, you're foolish because there's no way they're winning.
But there's also
that'll make me look foolish. They win.
They had the heel turn. The broken heart. If the broken gimmick was more of a done thing, but it seems like that's going to go on for a while.
I think. Have you noticed they've changed Matt Hardy's picture?
Yes.
When they're building our matches, I think they're now distancing themselves from broken stuff.
It was crazy hair, and now it's slicked back hair, and so just a smirk.
Yeah. I wonder if they're dropping the whole thing because I believe what
Screw it. I'm going Cesaro and Sheamus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's see. Let's see. I might regret that. Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Hot off the worst segment of the year so far.
Yep.
With the This Is Your Life segment. This is a kendo stick on a pole match, and it's for the Raw Women's Championship.
Alexa Bliss. Bliss has just won the belt. And this is going to make me sound... This is not me. This is not my thinking. This is definitely the Vince way of thinking. Alexa Bliss is far more attractive than Bayley in the minds of what WWE think is an attractive woman. I actually disagree. And I think that they are more behind Alexa Bliss than they are Bayley. The booking of her would certainly suggest that.
I've got two tag team title. I've got two title changes already. So I'm going to stick with Alexa Bliss retains also, and for the unfortunate reasons you just mentioned there as well. Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose versus The Miz in a rubbish stipulation.
Match you've already seen before.
Yeah, a rubbish stipulation of a match. If Ambrose is disqualified, he will lose the Intercontinental title.
Do you know why this is a rubbish stipulation?
Because it's at Extreme Rules.
Because it's at Extreme Rules. It essentially means it's a no extreme match. Great. Good. I mean, just good. Again, it's a Kurt Angle thing.
Yeah. This will ruin me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first.
You go first.
I've
gone first.
I'll play my hand first. I've got to say it's The Miz. But now I'm quite conscious of all the title changes I've got. I'm saying Miz.
I'm also going Miz, and I think that Elias Sampson is going to get Dean disqualified. I think the only reason you put this stipulation on is for Miz to get the belt, more or less. Because it's always boring then if you put this on there and then Dean Ambrose just wins anyway.
What, so if Elias Sampson just walks in, knocks out The Miz?
Yeah.
And then The Miz is like...
Yeah.
Because Maurice couldn't beat up The Miz.
No.
That would be a bit strange.
I wonder if they'll do that as the first spot. The Miz just jumps in and slaps... Maurice just jumps in and slaps The Miz. And he's like, she hit me, interference. And then they do the whole, to the back.
Get out of here. And in the main event, which I'm very much looking forward to...
This should be a... barn burner.
Yeah, despite WWE's best efforts, I still want to see this match. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt versus Samoa Joe, all very good workers in a fatal 5-way for the Universal title #1 contendership.
Yes.
I'm saying Finn Balor. I'm just going to come and right down and say it.
I am going Seth. I'm going Seth. I think they're going to save Finn down the line. I think they're going to tease... I think that Finn is going to look like he's going to win a lot, but I think in the end, I wonder if Rollins is going to go over. I think Rollins is a better bet for a match with Brock Lesnar, Lesberg at Great Balls of Fire than wasting your Finn Balor return match.
That's the thing, isn't it? You want that to be a longer story because SummerSlam is going to be Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, it looks like. But man, if they have the Finn Balor... I don't know. I'm going to stick with Finn Balor because... Sometimes you got to go with your heart rather than what you think's going to happen. I want Finn Balor to win so much. He's done so well over the last few weeks.
Of course, we're both losers. Roman wins. LOL.
Yes. Well, hopefully they wouldn't do that, would they?
No.
We'll just get Roman and Brock matches up until WrestleMania 34 next year.
That'll get him over.
Here's one. We won't include this in the predictions, but who do you think's taking the losing pin?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think Samoa Joe.
No, I was going to say, knowing Raw, it's Samoa Joe.
Now we're a bit late to the party here, but a few weeks ago, the ... dive debate started on Twitter. It was at the end of WWE's European tour, and Randy Orton essentially shared a message that critiqued the formulaic structure of independent wrestling.
Yeah, okay, carry on.
The gag being that they do a lot of dives. The funny thing is, a lot of people on the main WWE roster do a lot of dives.
And have the same formulaic matches. But, that's by the by.
So this, of course, has made people like Luke rather angry.
And make me angry. I just think that...
like you're quite... quite a myth.
No, I just think it's hilarious for someone to say, like, oh, you could own the same bombing formula match. I was like, you've been doing that for 17 years, Randy.
Yes. So I'll read out the initial post because it is funny. So this was from a wrestler called Daniel D-Man Parker. Apparently he texts this message to Rip Rogers, who is a wrestling legend. Great person to follow on Twitter. He's always got wrestling advice, and he's the current head trainer at OVW. So Rip Rogers tweeted this, Randy Orton retweeted this, and that's what caused the controversy. So this is the message. Every indie match now. Handshake, drawn out move exchange, this is awesome chant. Strike exchange, dive. No sell indie strong style, dive. More strikes, no sells, dive. Flippy floppy sequence, dive. Hit everyone with each other's finisher, then Humpty Dumpty we all fall down. Fight forever chant. Rinse and repeat until every move is useless and means nothing. Dive. Take unsafe shot that looks like S-word and hurts like hell, then roll up finish. Handshake and hug after the match. Everyone's hands raised. All these guys chant. Go home and type on social media thanking your opponents and company for the match and telling others they should book these guys. Dive. Then Randy Orton shared that post with dive. So, I mean, do you want to open up the dive debate?
Okay, there is something behind D-Man Parker's words there.
Seems like a fun guy, D-Man Parker.
It doesn't he just? He sounds like someone you just want to be at a party with. And so there is the school of thought that indie wrestling is all the same. And it is just flip-flops, dives, flippity-flops, do a dive, all handshakes, everyone's lovely. Problem is, those are great matches usually. And there's people like, it was the Will Ospreay Ricochet match that came up last year, the one that Dave Meltzer was completely raving about, and in all fairness, is a very, very good match. But everyone was saying, like, yeah, but it just looks like choreographed dance, doesn't it? It just looks like everything in there was completely planned out, and that's why it doesn't work for me. And I completely can get behind that. A lot of people like their wrestling to look real. My counter argument to that is that it's the not all guys argument. So there'll be the people just like, oh, all men are like this, no men are like this, and then you get those people who try to offensively be like, yeah, well, not all guys are like that. And I don't want to be like that not all guy thing, but not all indie wrestling is like that. For example, what Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate did at Takeover Chicago was, for all intents and purposes, an indie match. It was quite Progress-like. It was the sort of match that they would usually work. That wasn't all flips and dives and handshakes. That was strong mat wrestling, solid fundamentals and things like that. So just to say that, like, this is what every indie wrestling match is like is kind of not true. And it just really makes me laugh because then Randy Orton's the one to be like, look at these dorks having the same formulaic matches when, like, you can't say the same thing about WWE where every match is different. Because if you look at WrestleMania, the only match there that was different was Lesnar Goldberg. Because that genuinely felt something different. Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker was the same as Seth Rollins versus Triple H, which was the same as Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin, which was the same as Austin Aries versus Neville. They're all the same formulaic matches.
Yeah, and Lesnar and Goldberg arguably was the best match.
It was totally the best match.
It's in my top 10 of the year so far.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So this is... So, let's take the statement first. Because everybody... I mean, this is a few weeks old now. But there was a very vocal backlash against this message on Twitter. First up, this is a brilliant joke. Like, this, just the way it's written.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a very... And he means it in a hyperbolic fashion. Mm-hmm. I doubt that Daniel D-Man Parker actually sat down and believed every indie match is like this.
Absolutely.
Because he's an indie wrestler. Mm-hmm. And if that's what he thinks, So it's a joke. It's a very good joke. Randy Orton probably read it. And, from his outside perspective of indie wrestling and seeing these young kids come up with all their dives these days and not enough headlocks and rest holds.
Not enough chin locks there.
I imagine that he would go, this is kind of funny. I'm going to retweet it out. He only retweeted it and it caused this whole storm. I guess I can understand the backlash though, because it's a guy who had everything not handed to him on a plate, but he had a lot.
You say he wasn't handed to him, it was handed to him on a plate.
Everyone has to work to get somewhere. He had a much easier route than most people, but I I think again to say it's handed on a plate.
Oliver Davis, come on now. He was okay. So he didn't have to earn to get a job. He walked into that job because he's the son of a WWE legend. Secondly, he was already picked to be a top guy. So. As soon as he came in, they were like, "Well, this is a top guy. Let's put all the belts on him. Let's make him a top guy." He didn't start at the bottom and then we're like, "Oh, this guy's actually got some good. This got some good skills behind him. Let's give him a chance." No, he came in. He was like, "He's our top guy." Batista had the same thing. He walked in. He was like, "He's a top guy. Make him a top guy." Baron Corbin is another one. He's walked in and been like, "He's definitely a top guy. Look at the size of him. Look at his hair."
I definitely agree with you they were given a lot more opportunities and chances than other people would have. But at the same time, to say they hadn't worked tremendously hard to get to that point in the first place.
To be that good does take work.
Yeah, so that's, you can't just, because maybe they dropped the chance, and like many people have, Rikishi.
Yeah.
But they...
I'd say that Rikishi wasn't given the same chance that Randy Orton was given chances.
He didn't have the body. And anyway, that's by the by. So... there is a problem with indie wrestling, and that it does, by its nature, it has to, in my opinion, it has to cater for a live audience. And for live audiences, the best stuff, from my own personal experience, is big slaps and things that look hard and spectacular dives. And the indie wrestlers only have this feedback mechanism of cheers from the live crowd. You don't get anything of the exposure level of these big crowds on TV. And in so doing, it's like a bad feedback loop, because you do more of the dives to get more of the cheers, and then you end up in a place that does start to drop storytelling. And my favourite matches are ones that tell a story throughout. And there is a perfect balance of this strong style wrestling, this indie style wrestling that Randy Orton is mocking here, which I think is going to be the form of wrestling in about 5 years' time. It's just WWE's got to catch up with it. It's already kind of there with the dives.
With NXT.
Dave Meltzer pointed out a spot in the Roman Reigns-Seth Rollins match, which was Seth Rollins came into the corner, hit a move on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came right out, no-selled, and clotheslined Seth Rollins. And you've got an offensive move off a move they should have sold. And then they both sell afterwards. That's a New Japan style spot. So WWE is going in that direction. But the thing people have got to remember is that indie wrestling isn't this perfect form either. And just, like you said, to say that there's one style of indie wrestling is completely ignorant of the very varied, all the different promotions, Chikara and the sort of a Rev Pro are somehow the same medium. They're completely different. One's comic book, one is presented like a sport. But they are wacky sometimes, too much to a detriment. They do rely on big pops, and that storytelling is lost. So that's my dive debate. Dives are great, but they are overused. To me, I don't care about a dive anymore.
Dives, okay, so I remember when I watched TNA for the first time, and this was in a period when I'd kind of stopped watching wrestling. I'd stopped watching in about 2002, shortly after the invasion, when they first did the brand split. I was like, I'm losing interest in this now. Kicker for me was when they got rid of Raven. And I was like, well, this is done.
Your boy.
My boy Raven. And I'm like, well, this company's down the tube now, isn't it? No one's going to watch this if Raven's not on the show. And so I stopped watching wrestling. I went to university and my housemate was really into wrestling. And he kind of showed me some current day WWE stuff, so like 2004, 2005. And my first actually show back was New Year's Revolution 2005, and I proper got into Batista. I thought he was ace because they presented him as the top guy, and I didn't like Triple H. And but I then discovered TNA, and TNA was actually my first exposure to indie wrestling.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't watched Ring of Honor, I hadn't watched Best of Super Juniors or anything like this sort of stuff. So I'd watched this TNA thing, and they were doing all these big flips and dives. You had like Petey Williams doing the Canadian Destroyer, and I was like,
Petey Williams.
And I was like, Mike, this is mind blowing because I've never seen anything like this. I'd imagine now if I went back and I watched that very first TNA show that I saw, which was Victory Road 2004, I'd probably go like, well, I see this a lot now. I've seen this in 20,000 other matches. Like when Finn Balor does a dive over the top rope during a match, I'm like, yeah, cool, Finn. I mean, I've seen you do that like loads and loads and loads before, but that's one of his spots. That's not a knock on Finn. That's one of his spots. That's one of his trademark spots. is the same way that everyone has trademark spots. When the lad who was in the Cruiserweight Classic last year that was going to win the whole thing, but then Kota Ibushi, thank you very much. He always does his triangle moonsault thing. First time you see it, it's like, wow, that's really impressive. But he does that like all the time. So it's less impressive the more you see it.
I think the problem is when it's on every other match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, indie wrestling is great because you are just performing in front of live crowds. You don't have a weekly TV show, and so when you go see a Progress show, you see one a month perhaps. So everything does kind of sort of feel fresh and new. You can't afford to go to every show. So yeah, I think that it just seems very silly to label all indie wrestling with that same brush. But I agree that you're right that there are certain things that once you've seen once, you've sort of seen it 1,000 times.
So in summary, could we say that the original message was a very funny joke, and maybe some people reacted in a snowflake way because of Randy Orton's status?
Well, the reason why people reacted in a snowflake way, because it was Randy Orton that did it. Because for all the reasons I stated earlier, is because he was a guy that he didn't do indie wrestling, so he just walked in. Randy Orton very much is a lot like Baron Corbin. When my favorite thing about Baron Corbin and his gimmick was that he hated indie wrestlers and he never had to do that indie wrestling thing. And my favorite moment of his is when he had a match against Apollo Crews. It was Apollo Crews' debut match. It was like TakeOver Brooklyn. I think it was the first one. And there's a moment when he knocked him out of the ring and was just like, "Go back to Ring of Honor," which is where he never wrestled.
Wrestled there.
To Baron Corbin, that's what indie wrestling is. It's just Ring of Honor.
Or Corbin worked you, and he was trying to get heat off.
Well, that's it. That's what I mean. Like, it was perfect for his character. I loved it.
So yes, and of course, I think there's an element of Daniel D-Man Parker. It's you can't say that because that's not your thing. But I'm an indie guy. I'm say that about. Say that. Absolutely, whereas it's something else coming from WWE. 13-time champion, which is ridiculous, Randy Orton.
Absolutely. Who's had the same match his entire career. Yeah. And he's got that Kevin Nash mentality of just like, we've already got their money, I don't need to take these stupid bumps.
But at the same time, the reason it is funny, and you can't deny it's funny when you read it, is because it has an element of truth in.
Yes.
And that is because certain moves are overused, and a certain attention to storytelling is quite often sacrificed for big pops.
A lack of selling in particular.
A lack of selling.
That actually is bleeding over into WWE a lot. Dean Ambrose in particular is very egregious. Seth Rollins is quite bad for it as well.
But there's a happy medium here, I think, and hopefully WWE will embrace this much more exciting style of wrestling because their current style is getting a bit, you can sort of see where every match is going. As it plays out. But what do you think? Let us know by putting in your thoughts in the comments.
Of this
do you agree with
topic.
the ... dive debate? Luke, we are current, we are relevant. But that is all we've got time for today. Please click the videos over Luke's face here to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or the WrestleTalk news. Subscribe to WrestleTalk and support us on Patreon. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.